Welcome to Shifting Impressions, conversations with the realm of beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, and the realm of beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the realm of beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Be equal in intelligence, but equal in the creation of self as the force. Okie dokies. Who would like to start off?
Not me.
All right, I'll do it. Twist the arm a little.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you.
The first thought that came to me is I remember being a child of the 60s and the 70s, and I remember signing petitions and going to sit-ins and doing protests for civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, like equality everywhere. And I am still shocked that all these decades later, we're still battling the same thing. Like, what did we do? Why were we wasting our energy? If we still are not able to accept each other on equal terms on this planet, you know, we're talking about the meaning of equality in the universe. How are we ever going to accept equality from species that are different than us? Why can't we all just get along? Isn't that a song from a children's show? What happened? What happened to the flower power of the 60s? You know, the kids of this generation, all they see is violence on their Game Boys or their video games and violence in some of their music. And it's like, there's no respect for equality anymore. Does anyone want to continue on that? Again,
Kathy's going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, if I were in my classroom still teaching, this is what historians or what I would call a value tension. And value tensions are like, can go like this all the way up to the end and snap back out a little bit and snap back. And that's exactly what's happening again now with what you were just describing about what I think you're describing or talking about is that pseudo scientific racism stuff that still
it wasn't just racism, Kathy. It was sexism too, and we're right back to.
Well, the same people are creating it, and the other same people are creating to experience it. So, if you want to look at it from a historical perspective, you have to go as far as from my lived experience, and you just have to go back to where did it originate from? But when I saw the quote, I was thinking I thought about what you said, but I also thought about how are we viewed off planet or by those that live in the planet? I mean, you know, when I saw the word intelligence, I mean, there are different forms of intelligence.
True.
And
Very
who decides, and that's where I was trying to go, who decides who's intelligent and what intelligence is more important than another or better than another? And that's what the whole what's that called, phrenology or something, where they were trying to they were looking at the skulls of individuals, say, well, if it's a round head, they're not too smart, got to have an elongated head. So if
we're trying to determine brain size,
there you go. But it was all based on the same thing about intelligence and mapping someone's intelligence. And now what's happening even with the mapping out the human genome, you know, I never thought a Neanderthal was stupid, but they did, because if you thought someone was dumb or lacked intelligence, what did you call them? A Neanderthal. Then when you take a DNA test and you find out Africans don't have Neanderthal, makes you go, oh, how do I change how I felt about the intelligence of Neanderthals? Now you'll see everything where they're not as dumb as we thought they were. So it's a cycle. It's a value tension, and it's a way of just keeping us separate from one another. Because personally,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter if you have more Neanderthal than me or less than me. It doesn't. None of that matters. And the people off planet, how do they view our intelligence? They probably think, I don't know, because I don't want to project. I don't want to project and say they must think we're pretty darn dumb to be
We
fighting over
certainly
dumb
don't
stuff.
have the technology they do. And didn't we once have a conversation not that long ago where we were talking about IQs and measuring there's book smart and there's street smart? So the IQ tests that were usually distributed in schools were testing for what they called book smart.
But
And
those
those same
were
people put
eliminating.
less on the
But
streets, you know?
those were eliminating factors, Carol. That's why a lot of colleges have done away with the SATs. They were deliberately designed to preserve a systemic
Right.
way of separating people by racial characteristics and by what they assumed were intelligence factors. So let's not get it twisted. That's why they
Yeah,
had all
no,
of that.
that's true.
And so,
And economic too, I think plays a role in there.
all
Yeah.
of it is there. So, the question is, how do we move past it? So now I'm gonna turn it over to Greta. Go ahead, Greta.
How do we get past it? I
Well,
just want to
Really
say
stop
that,
judging.
right, right. Because the things that we're talking about now that occurred on Earth, and Kathy is our historian, and Carol is our ancient scientist. We have to
And
go back.
rebel.
Right, we have to go way back. That is way back in time, that if you didn't look like me, then you're different.
And
So,
we're enemies then.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not of the same tribe as me, then I gotta watch out for you. That's what's
Exactly.
going on today. If you're not the same religion as me, then you're different. And see, the one thing about I met this woman, Kathy, met her as well. In fact, I think I was one that introduced her to Kathy. But she came to me and she said her grandson had taken a test. And she said, my grandson scored 200 on the intelligence test. Okay. She was so elated over that. 200. I just couldn't get excited over that. Because,
Number.
right, in Japan, they know how to increase a child's IQ, what we call an IQ. And 200 is really kind of small in comparison where we can go. It's just that most of the time we begin the educational process probably at when we send our kids to preschool or kindergarten. We start the educational process there, when in actuality the Japanese and many others realize that you start the educational process in the womb itself.
Exactly.
And I used to go around teaching that. But the thing is that you can, when you work with your child while your child is in the womb, you can create a child that has an IQ over 200 when they're tested by the normal tests that we have here today.
And even the words used, like normal. I mean, who declares what is considered normal?
Because
Again,
people
it's
came around and they created all these tests because they wanted to show that one group of people was more intelligent than another group of people. So they created that whole paradigm. It's like when I lived in Africa, Tamba, a gentleman, he was older than I was at the time, but I just watched his thinking process, and he had a high level thinking process about if we had, and he had never gone to school.
right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's for us to realize to not negate someone because they don't appear to have the same knowledge base nor the same ability or rate of learning something. So I think what that quote is talking about, all are not made to be equal in intelligence, because intelligence is really not that important to the force.
It's subjective anyway.
Right. And it says now in the quote, but equal in the creation of self as the force. And see, it doesn't matter. You can have an IQ of 67. You know, I've worked with people who are autistic, what you would call Down syndrome, all kinds of things. But the spirituality is still there in that individual.
And they're still creating their own reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, there's a certain amount of ability important to be able to create your own reality. And to the audience, I want to say everything that you're looking at in each one of our little squares on this program, you are creating to see it. Otherwise, when we're gone, it's not there. When you go into, I'm going to say this again, if you are in your living room and you cannot see your bedroom is not there until you step into that space and recreate it. If you remember on Star Trek, it used to have the hologram. You step into the gridded room, you put you program the computer, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in Hawaii in 1850. Walking around, the clothes and the people, everything looks real. So I think that hologram, that Star Trek holographic room is very exemplary of how we create reality at every moment. We've never stopped to create reality. So now what does that have to do with intelligence? It has to do with the idea that everybody's intelligent because everybody's creating their reality.
That was exactly where I was going to go, Greta. But even the kid that successfully created to have whatever Down syndrome, whatever they wanted to create, it took intelligence to do that. But the word all are not made. All could be, I don't know who the realm was referring to, but we are assuming they're talking about humans. He could have been talking about the tree. They could have been talking about an ant. They could have been talking about, when they say all, is that everything, but everything is, has different physical characteristics because they were intelligent enough to create what they wanted to look like and how they were going to interact with for the force. And it's called diversity. And so, I didn't know if I was looking at this quote, because that's what came to me. Am I only thinking about, are humans? Are we looking at just humans? Or are we looking, because this whole month has been, about individuals that are not all human.
Right.
They're not
all. That's what the quote is. The quote, that all, is really meaning literally all.
Everything.
In fact, I think the title of this episode says the meaning of equality in the universe.
There you go, in the universe.
It's much bigger than just our little tiny blue marble that we're all consumed with and think we're the center of the universe, which mankind thought that for many years, Exactly. Turned out we weren't even center of the solar system, so we're minutia compared to it.
Right, and you know what, Carol, that brings up another value tension that we keep going back and forth. Can everything always be equal? When we say we want equality, what exactly does it mean? What does equality even look like? How do you know if you even have it?
Absolutely.
And so you see, it's like, what the HE hockey sticks do we do? And who does not? So in other words, the other question is, who creates their own equality?
I think we all do. And a perfect example that comes to my mind is, because we consider things that we want, like what I was aware of in the 60s and what I was, protesting or whatever I was doing at that rebel age. We wanted equality of women being paid the same as men for the same job, people of color being allowed to do the same thing white people were doing, gay people being allowed to just be themselves. So we consider that good stuff or high vibrational stuff. But then again, aren't we okay? So women get equality rights. That means they should have been drafted in the Vietnam War and put themselves in danger of sacrificing their lives too. But we didn't think about that when we were doing the sit-ins.
Carol, you just separated women, blacks, gays.
Yeah.
Let's lose all of the freaking
All of
labels.
those adjectives.
Lose the labels, because that's what's promoting the inequality, you know, to me, because that's what just came to me. You know, we've already separated ourselves into groups that open us up to being judged as unequal or unworthy. Or maybe are we being supported in feeling that about ourselves?
Well, we're the ones creating it.
Who's really creating to feel unworthy? Who's really creating to feel unequal? And what are you going to do about it when I decide I no longer want to be unequal? Well, now we have a riot. If you don't want to give me what I know I'm supposed to have, but it still changes. So it's an evolving thing to me. What's coming to me? Maybe equality in the universe is evolving, continuously evolving until we know we're the force.
But I want to say this, that the mandate from the three gods, and yes, there are three gods that created this universe, not just one. One of their mandates is to support unconditional love. That is the mandate. So there are places throughout this universe and groups of individuals throughout this universe, sentient beings, who have agreed that they are going to look at unconditional love. When you look at unconditional love, you move yourself out of all this other stuff. You move yourself out of blame, you move yourself out of judgment, because judgment is say, you're stupid and I'm smart, that's a judgment call.
Of course. Or even to think about yourself. Judging yourself is not being smart. I know I've done that.
Move out of that. See, that unconditional moves you out of that. I know that, I think most people know now that I have a husband who's reptilian, and we have 13 kids together who are really grown at this point. But one of the characteristics of them is that you could put them in any place in this universe or any place outside of this universe, and they'll be able to speak the language automatically.
Wow.
They don't have to go to school and say, let me learn French. All they got to do is sit down in France and boom, there you go. So does that make them more intelligent than me, who has to open up a textbook and really work at remembering Buenos Dias?
That's Spanish, by the way.
Okay, so once we get, I think what the realm really wants to show is that let's lose that. Let's see the value of each individual. And when I say individual, I'm going to even take it even deeper. Even a blade of grass is an individual. Everything is living. There's nothing that is inanimate, and I've said that on the podcast before. They've taught us that. They've taught us that, here are the inanimate objects, and they hold a rock up, and then they say to you, okay, is this living or non-living? And all the little children raise their hands and they all say, it's not living. It's not living. And the teacher goes, oh, that is so wonderful. You learned that. That's great. And give the child a lot of accolades for something that is totally false.
Because they thought it was false too. And they should have realized it wasn't true, because didn't we have pet rocks at one point? That was a big thing, right?
I was wondering what happened when two rocks meet.
They roll, baby. They're rocks and they roll. Again, the word equal for me is coming across as everyone, everything, every species, we're all energy. And that puts us on level footing with anybody. It doesn't matter your brain size. It doesn't matter your physical appearance.
Absolutely.
It's equal because we're the same energy. We're the force. And that's the bottom line. And I think everything humans have done throughout history has just tried to reinforce separation. And that's where the intelligence is lacking. Because if you're thinking in separation, I don't think you're being very intelligent. And that's me making a judgment call.
But it could be quite right. But you know, another word that came up that keeps equanimity. Did I pronounce that right?
Equanimity, yeah.
Equity, whatever it is. You know, it means fairness or equal mind. 17th century noun, you know. But it deals basically with mental calmness and how you react to certain events and things in your life. Are you able to maintain um evenness of temper, you know, when you're in difficult situations? So now we're talking about emotions
Mm-hmm.
and, well, the thoughts and the emotions, and then the reverberations of that. Is that also a form of intelligence, or am I on the right path there, Greta?
I think you are. I think you're on the right path and correct me, Kathy, if I'm not explaining it. But what my take of it is that you're saying is that because we are all the force, and that's what Carol is saying too, because we are all the force, we have the force's capabilities and abilities, period. That's
Right.
what we have. So consequently, when we see everything as the force, which it is, everything is the force. I don't care if it's a neuron. I don't care what it is. It's the force. You know, my little mouse here with my computer, force. My phone, force. My hand, force. My hair, force. The pictures behind me, force. The books behind me, force. The flowers behind Kathy, force. The picture of Buddha behind Carol, force. Everything is the force. Therefore, there is only oneness. Therefore, it's the creation of reality that all of us are doing because we're the force, because that's what the force is doing. It's in a constant state of creation of reality.
And if we use our intelligence the way we're supposed to use it as the force, then we would know that we are the force. It's the only intelligent explanation or answer you can get for a lot of the things that, you know, that we have created to experience and continue to experience. It just takes intelligence, and it's still, you know, like the relationships of individuals, you know, it's like when you just trying to figure out how to phrase this, but we have to go to break, so I'll come back and I'll just ask the force, not the
I
force.
can't wait till
Yes, I
the
will.
realm.
I will ask the realm because the realm is the force.
Yeah. Well, they're the force too. I think the word intelligence in this quote is a little misleading to us as humans, perhaps,
Right.
because
That's what I'm right.
we have, you know, and perhaps we, the three of us, because we are aware of creation of reality and we are aware of the force, maybe that's what they mean by all are not made to be equal in intelligence. It's more of the awareness, like we consider ourselves more aware because of the realm of beings, because they speak to us through Greta, because they've been teaching us about the force and about creation of reality. So I'm not sure that makes us more intelligent, but I think
There
it
you
makes us
go.
more aware.
Of how to utilize and expand our intelligence.
Exactly. And
Might
just to
say that.
absorb more
Or to
knowledge and
recognize
learn.
that you know what? Intelligence has to be if it's a thing, intelligence has to be, is it not sentient? What's that word we use, Greta? Like for example, an emotion is a thing. It's a living being. So
Yeah.
intelligence has to be a living thing too.
Well, it's a
It is.
creation of each person's reality. How do they absorb information? How do you
Right.
take in information? Each person is creating their own abilities in reference to them. But that doesn't mean that one person, because they quote unquote think faster than somebody else, that somebody over here who understands quantum physics, and there's someone over here living in the Amazon rainforest that when you say quantum physics, and they look at you, what? What are you talking about?
But they use it better than you do.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it's the understanding that we are all, I'm going to take out the word equal. We are all the same. We
That's
are
a
all
very
the
good
same.
point.
The only thing we're doing to make things up, quote unquote, appear different is that we create these different personalities. The different personalities. Now I'm going to use someone that everybody probably dislikes intensely, and that's Hitler. That's Hitler. If we look at Hitler, yeah, his personality, look how he was guided through his life by way of his personality. And everybody, then other people fell into the collective consciousnesses. There were
Right.
different collective consciousnesses that were a combination of a lot of personalities that were creating all this stuff. But when you get rid of the personality from Hitler, you get rid of all of his physicality. What are you going to see?
Same energy that we are.
Yeah.
The realm helped me accept, because, they tell you you have to have unconditional love for everyone. And I thought about people like him and say, how am I going to have unconditional love for him? And they said to me, you have to love them, but you don't have to like them. And that
Right.
made it a lot easier to digest.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to bring the realm with us in a couple of moments. We're going to take a little break. Listeners, please stay with us. We are so excited to hear what the realm has to say about this quote. And thank you for staying with us here on Transformation Network. This is Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We'll be right back. Welcome back, listeners. Thank you for sticking with us. Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We have reached that point in our podcast where the realm comes in and explains their quote to us directly from them. So, realm, are you with us?
Yes, we are. Carol, can you read the quote for everybody
I
one more
certainly
time,
will.
please?
I certainly will. This week, the quote you gave us has been, all are not made to be equal in intelligence, but equal in the creation of self as the force. And we can't wait to hear what you want to say about it.
First, we think that the three of you did a pretty good job on that.
Well, thank you, Realm.
I'd like to clarify what we meant by all, because Kathy did ask, what did we mean by that? When we say all, we're exactly meaning that, all. That includes an air molecule. So we're looking at all of everything is the force. There's not a little bit of something not the force. All is the force itself. When you are and recognize that you are the force, and you recognize that everything around you is the force, even the books that you are reading, that's the force. When you're looking on your computers now, that's the force. Everything is the force. So everything is. Anything that that you as humans, because we have to talk about you being human now, there are certain characteristics that you come to this reality with. If you were a Pleiadian, you would come with a different set. If you're Anunnakian, you would come with a different set. Us as the realm of beings, we've come with a different set. But so let us examine what characteristics have come with being human. And one of the things, and it's a really big lesson, that as human, you want to deal with and overcome it. And that is separation. And what we wanted to talk about in that quote is that there is no separation because everyone is the force. Therefore, intelligence, your conceptualization of intelligence becomes mute. It's irrelevant. It's absolutely positively irrelevant. It's some people, we've heard them talk to Greta and say, I have certain gifts. And she's always saying to them, you don't have any gifts. You know, gifts are something, you went to a party and somebody gave you a gift. You had a birthday, somebody sent you a gift. It was Christmas time, a gift. You know, Hanukkah, it's a gift you got. We are talking about your abilities. Every humanoid, I hope everyone understands and hears me. Every humanoid has those abilities, which you call psychic, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clair whatever. You all have the same thing. One is not better than the other. Now you're going to ask me, well, how come some people appear to have it and some people appear not to have it? That is because some people have decided that they don't want to activate a particular ability. So therefore they don't. Then there are other people that say, I want to be able to read people's minds, so they activate that. Or I want to be able to see all probabilities, which a lot of people don't call them probabilities. They say, I want to see the future, which you know does not exist. Right? But because you're humanoid and you're invested in this illusory environment, you believe that the future is real. When everybody, we want to say to you again, there is no future, there is no past, there is only the now. And I think one of your podcasts, we hope, will be devoted to the conceptualization of reincarnation in past lives, because there's so many humans that believe and have accepted that concept. And in accepting that, have accepted the concept of destiny. See? So, but that's for another time. But right now, we want to help you to understand that you are one with everything. I don't care what it looks like. You know, that's that cobra snake, one of the species, it's a spitting cobra. You have to stay 6 feet away from it, because when it thinks that you're coming to hurt it, it rises up and spits the venom. It's very intelligent because it spits the venom right in your eyes. So when it spits the venom in your eyes, you cannot see it when it comes to bite you. Now, what isn't that highly intelligent?
It certainly is.
You see what I'm saying? Looks for your eyes and knows I'm going to send it to your eye. How about that?
It should be a self-defense class.
Everything has intelligence, even though it may appear differently. So when this whole month we've been talking about individuals who are not necessarily human. So each individual that's out there in whatever universe it is still one with us. It is still the force as we are. It's like if you look at us as the realm of beings, if we moved out of Greta and you attempted to see us, you would only see us as pure energy. Right now, we are using Greta's physical vehicle to be able to communicate with you, you see. But we are a species, our particular group is a species of pure thought. We're not even a sentient being speaking through Greta. We are pure thought. And I know now it would be challenging for you to even perceive of an individual or individuals that are pure thought, because you're so geared toward having a physical body present so you can identify that person as being in existence. But you see, that is because you have those 5 senses. What is it? Hearing, seeing, feeling, smelling, touching. If you have one of those, then you're going to believe that that exists, because you're hearing a simulated voice by way of Greta's vocal cords and vocal box, you see. So since you hear that coming through that mechanism that's in her humanoid body, and you hear it, so you can accept it to be real, you see. So those senses help you to do that. When you look at somebody and you go to school and you're with a student who's having trouble in the reading process and is in the group D level, while you are in the group A reading level, who can read like a whip, and that person is, the person in the D group is struggling just to remember the word but. So what happens with that? As children, you begin to think, oh, I'm smart. And oh, that person is dumb.
Yep.
I'm smart. And you see, that is the biggest misnomer going. That person who you think is struggling to remember the word but is equal to you, who can read as fast as the wind. That who says but, that's just a personality that that individual has chosen to experience his or her lessons.
Mm.
See, we forget that each person has a set of their own lessons. This whole reality that you're in is individualized. Each person's experience is different. If you brought 50 people before us and we questioned them, everybody would give a different idea of what they experienced. Or you can see one thing and say, okay, what did you see? 50 people could give you different ideas of what they saw because their perception is different. And your perception holds you to believe what you term now, the believable, because your senses have supported you in that illusion to believe that. So intelligence is a false belief, not a false positive belief for those of you who have scientific background. It is just false. There's no way for us to explain it to you. So we suggest, instead of embracing the separation that is inside your experience, begin to practice wholeness. Begin to practice oneness. And in order to practice that, you must practice unconditional love. Until you can practice unconditional love, you cannot see oneness.
Mm.
You cannot. You could be a Tibetan monk on top of the Himalayan mountains in a monastery far removed from others, but you still have lessons. You still have lessons. There is no way to escape lessons. You will continue that until you reach the point that you understand that you are the force and that you've been the force all along. And that means that you accept and see everyone. I don't care what planet they're on. I don't care what universe they're in. You recognize that you're one with all. That's our quote. All is what we want you to understand.
That's interesting. Realm, you brought up about children, and I think that's a good point. How the child who was put in the A class for reading versus the child that was separated as the D class, from that early age, they're already being taught separation.
Absolutely.
If there was a way we could change teaching to be learned as you're one with each other. I mean, I recently worked with special needs children, and I can tell you the difficulties that they create for themselves. I tried to actually tell a girl who was throwing a bit of a fit that, she was telling everyone, I hate you, and said some words that you would not expect to hear from a child. And I said, the person you really hate is yourself. And boy, did she give me a smackdown with words. So again, we're not teaching the children that they're one. We're separating them and teaching them it's okay to be separate and think you're better than someone else. And
Just
that's not
think
true.
that inside the family, some parents separate the children.
True, true.
right there in the family. You see, their favorite child. Or if they're looking at, well, you're better in sports than your brother. Your brother is good in science, pointing out, because see, this cultural framework is let's point out what we feel is good in the person, but not pointing out that, okay, you are building that ability while this person is building this ability, and you're both equal. It's just that you're doing two different things. And that's, it doesn't make you over here interested in science more intelligent than the person who's decided they want to play football and does football very well. Or somebody may want to play football because they like football, but they, according to the coach, I'll let you on, but and the other players, well, don't send him the ball because he's going to fumble and lose it. You see, instead of thinking he can do it, they've been taught to knock the person down. So inside the family structures, inside your working environments, instead of looking to knock someone down, assist in, support them in raising themselves up, you see. Because when you're working from this point of raising somebody up, you're into that realm of unconditional love. Unconditional love is totally higher in vibration than just saying, I love you, you see. So unconditional love is it.
And start with self.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Because I think that's where a lot of us have difficulties.
If you don't love yourself,
how can you love anyone?
Who else is going to love you? Because
exactly.
we've given that protocol out, create, support, create. If you don't love yourself, then that means you dislike yourself. So that means the only people that are going to come around you are the people that are going to support you in disliking yourself. And then when you create all of that experience, then the next thing you're looking and say, people don't like me. Well, I guess not. You created for them to dislike you. You called for that. Some people stand in the mirror, oh, I'm not pretty, or I'm not handsome. Now look at that. And you're the force. And you're trying to convince the force that it's not pretty. Or you're trying to convince the force it's not handsome. And the force is just a force. It's not pretty. It's not handsome. It's not ugly. It's not elegant. It just is.
And it's everything.
Absolutely. So revel
sorry.
in the beauty of this existence, not the trepidation of it. It is through looking at the beauty of it, then you will start to see more and more of the beauty in it. If you gravitate toward, oh, there's going to be a war. Oh, we're going to sink into the ocean. Oh, the trees are burning and they're just going to burn up the entire planet. Well, look what you're creating.
Back with what you don't want.
Absolutely. So it's to focus on what you want. But we're really quickly able to say in our experiences, let's say one thing that I've heard others say over and over again, how do you feel today? Oh, I have a cold. That will just come right out. Oh, I have a cold. Oh, I have a headache.
Don't declare it and own it.
That's right.
You won't create it if you don't own it.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
And intelligence You can take intelligence into, if you want to take it somewhere, take it into spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence, not physical. Spiritual intelligence means that you're looking at the oneness of yourself with everything in existence, and you're recognizing you're the force. Yes.
Realm, you tell us every week about unconditional love of self and that it's important for us to love ourselves unconditionally. Can we expound on that in a way of teaching the listeners, how does one learn to love themselves unconditionally? Like, what processes would you recommend? I mean, we know about QDR and affirmations and meditations. We're trying to learn, obviously, through Gretta's teachings, which you guide her in. But what can we just tell the listeners? Like, how do you love yourself if you feel you don't love yourself?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
And each person has to deal with it at their own level, but in their own, I don't want to say level, but within their own beingness. You can start by telling yourself, I love you. Tell yourself, I love you. Do with the love first, and then start telling yourself, I love you unconditionally. Regardless of what reality you create, you could create a reality that you sit down and say, oh my goodness, how did I create that? Don't beat up on yourself. Don't think that you're an awful person because you created something that you don't really appreciate. Don't stay there. Go to the point of, in your mind, in your thought, I release it. I release that thought. Even if you don't know anything about QDR. So just say, I don't want that anymore. I'm changing myself. I'm making myself better. And let me say this, with some things that you are experiencing, you can't just say, okay, it's gone, boom. You have to practice, you all. Practice loving yourselves. Because many of you have been practicing to dislike yourselves. Some of you have been practicing to hate yourselves, or to hate what you look like, or to say, I didn't accomplish. You look at one person and they've accomplished to be a millionaire, and here you are homeless. So then you beat up on yourself because of that. No, we highly suggest that you leave all that alone. Leave all of that alone, but practice loving yourself.
And Realm, with that, I'm going to say that all of July, we're ending June with looking outside of ourselves. When I say outside, looking at extraterrestrials and all of the other life forms that exist throughout the universe. July, we're going to be focused on our inner self. So July 5th, we're going to have the influencer, your inner being. And we're going to expound out more as a teacher. You know, we give kids that Carol taught an IEP, which is an individual educational plan. And I'm thanking the Realm for explaining to us that everyone on this planet, has an individual educational plan on how we're going to learn our lessons. We created the lesson plan and we have to follow it. And I'm going to turn it over to Carol because she's going to talk about cosmic consciousness. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, just wanted to remind people, I hope you tuned in last week for part 2, our discussion with our guest, Alan Steinfeld. We hope you enjoyed it. Look forward for any comments you can put on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or any of the streaming platforms that you use. We also would like to remind everyone, if you missed it, Gretta was a guest on Sheila, I forgot her last name. It's Cosmic Consciousness. And Alan was there too. And Greta was actually interviewed. And I believe the Realm was also there in appearance. And it's called Cosmic Consciousness. And the episode was Behind the Veil. Did I say that right, Kathy? Do you remember?
I think so.
Do you remember Sheila's last name? I forgot it.
You know what? That has totally
Yes.
gone past my little heady beating.
All right. I don't think we have to worry about that.
Well, Greta
Okay.
can come on back and tell us. Greta,
Yes,
come on back.
good.
Come on back, Greta.
Yes, I think her name is Sheila Seppi.
Seppi.
Yeah, that's it.
Sheila Seppi.
Great.
She
Great.
had me on that. I was really grateful because it gave me an opportunity to really talk about my experiences outside of this planet. It also gave me an opportunity to discuss the work that I do throughout the universe and not just here with Earth. It helped me to talk about, gave me the opportunity to talk about my family and my children who are in a different reality, and just the experiences that I've had. And it was just interesting, and I enjoyed the people. It was a different type of podcast for me because when you go on it, anybody goes on it, and it shows you're in a square. So if there are 30 of you, all 30 of you can be seen in the little squares. And then they asked me questions, and they asked the realm questions, and then so it was just an enjoyable experience. And I'd like us to start talking about the New Life Expo, because
In New York City.
We're going to be in New York on October 19th and 20th, that's Saturday and Sunday, at the Bar Association. So go on New Life Expo and you'll be able to see where we're going to be. And we welcome those in the eastern part of the United States. Come on out and meet Kathy and myself. And I'll be doing free psychic and facilitation readings for people too. So that's always available when we go out and stuff. And Carol won't be with us this time, but then again, she may. So
I had planned on coming. I would like to join.
Oh, all right. There'll be the three of us there.
So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Okay, y'all. So
I thank you, everyone. Thank you, Greta. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Transformation Network. And thank you, Realm. Most of all, thank you, listeners. We hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. We can't wait to see you again. So goodbye for now till we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the Realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.